Hi, I'm Kimberly Allison from Starliner Music. Welcome to my channel. Today in Fingerboard Geometry, we're going to continue with CAGED movable bar chord forms. This time we're going to set up a movable template with the one chord placed in the C form. First, we'll look at fingerings and then we'll do some exercises. Here we go. I hope you enjoy it. Today in Fingerboard Geometry, we're going to continue our study of CAGED movable bar chords. This time we're going to place our one chord, or the primary chord of the key, in the C form, and we will then look at how the other chords can fit around it in proximity. So we're going to try to keep a tight fret span instead of spreading out like we did before, and put all these chords really close to one another. So if I start with the one chord, let's say D in the C form, it's going to look like this. So there is a D chord in a C shape. And then if I go on just playing up the scale, I have the two chord, that's E minor. So there's my E, and here is an E minor chord in a D shape. Then I can go up the scale. My next note is F sharp, and this is an E form of an F sharp chord. Then I can continue up the scale to G. This is also an E form. Now my next root is A, so I have a choice here. I could play the lower part of the G form, which looks like this, or I could play the higher part of the G form that looks like this. Either way is fine. Then I continue up the scale, and I'm now to a B. And there's my B, so I'm going to use an A form of this chord. Now, as we've done before, I'm leaving off the seventh chord of the key, which is C sharp diminished. It's not a terribly practical bar chord for what we need it for at this point, so we're going to leave that off and just use these chords. So again, one more time, starting at the one chord D. D in the C form. E minor in the D form. F sharp minor in the E form. G in the E form. A in the G form, or the higher version. And then we have B minor in the A form. Now, let's try a couple of sample progressions in the key of D. Let's get a little practice with some sample progressions. I'm going to start off with 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. So in the key of D, that's D, G, D, A, D. So here's my D in the C form, 1. 4 is G. Back to D. Down to A. And back to D, that's 1. Let's try another. Let's do 2, 5, 1, 4, 1. So 2 is E minor, 5 is A, D is 1, and then G is 4, and back to 1. That's D. So 2, E minor. 5 is A. I'm going to use the higher version this time. 1 is D, and then 4, that's G. And now back to 1, that's D. Let's try another progression. I'm going to do 1, 3, 4, 5, and then end on the 1. So 1 is D, 3 is F sharp minor, the 4 is G, and the 5 is A, and then back to 1 D. So 1, 3, 4, 5, 1. And the last one, it's 1, 5, 6, 4, and then we'll end on 1. So that would be D, A, then B minor, and then the 4 is G, and back to 1 D. So D, 1, 5, 6, 4, and back to 1. Now let's try another key. So let's transpose this up to the key of F. So in the key of F, our 1 chord is F. The 2 chord is G minor. The 3 chord is A minor. The 4 chord is B flat. The 5 chord is C. And the 6 chord is D minor. Now let's try a couple of those sample progressions. I'm going to start off with 1. And then we're going to go to the 4. So B flat, and then back to the 1. And then the 5 is C, and then back to the 1 F. Let's go on to 2 5 and then 1 4 1. So 2 5 1 4 1. Now let's do 1 3 4 5 1. 1 3 4 5 1. Now let's try 1 5 6 4. 1 5 6 4. Now on to the exercises. All right, now for some exercises, we're going to take a progression and we're going to play it around the circle of fifths. If you're not sure what the circle of fifths is, please check out my video on the circle of fifths. Otherwise, I will give the order on screen. So the progression is 1 6 4 5 3 6 2 5. So now we're going to actually start out in the key of C, which gives us open chords. So let's just go through the progression with the open chords. It's 1, and then 6 is A minor, and then 4 is F. Then we get to use a full open G, that's the 5. And then we go to the 3, that's E minor, A minor 6, D minor 2, and then a G's 5, back to the 1. Now we're going to transpose that up to G. So G is the next root in our circle of fifths, and the G chord is located here at the 10th fret. So that's where my pinky's at. Root G, 1. And then we're going to go to the 6, E minor, and then the 4 chord is C, and the 5 chord is D, and then we go to the 3 chord, so that's going to be B minor, and then the 6 chord, and then the 2 chord is A minor, and then the 5 chord, I'm going to use the high version this time, is D. And then you continue around the circle of fifths. The next root would be D, and so on. Let's get a look. that's it for caged bar chords with the 1 chord in C form. I'm Kimberly Allison from Starliner Music, and I hope to see you back on my channel soon.